Hello everyone. Today I thought of sharing with you regarding checkmate in the mind. If you have heard the checkmate, those who have played chess must be aware the term checkmate, which is what happens is when the opponent's king cannot move into any space, the opponent loses. That's what you call by checkmate. So when you checkmate your mind, when your mind cannot move any longer, that's when a spiritual awakening happens. And I remember I also came to a place where I couldn't rely on the mind anymore. It was like I came to a dead end with the mind, where I no longer seek anything from the mind because I felt like I exhausted. Like whatever was given by the mind. And I was just there, had no clue what to do in my life, where this whole spiritual inquiry just went, started going very deep. Because I realized I can no longer rely on the mind. And again a very similar story that I watched in Avatar, the cartoon. Actually, this is, I think, the second part of Avatar, and where she, before she get into the Avatar state, she was in an utterly failed moment where she has no idea what to do any longer. And I am resonating that scene of that cartoon so much because I remember I had a very similar place when I came to a place that I went all in with spirituality. Because I couldn't see anything that I could possibly ask from the mind anymore. I feel like I exhausted all possibilities with the mind. And there was like a place where the mind gets into a place where it gets checkmate. Or you mind comes into a dead end. Now the mind cannot figure out anything else other than something comes from within, like some divinity comes within you, because no longer mind can come up with anything. So sometimes when you are in places like that, don't be discouraged. You never know, like, when that will come in as an opportunity. And if you take Eckhart Tolle, when he was going through his awakening, he was in a very, very depressed place. And he was telling himself, I can't live with myself. And then he asked, if I can't live with myself, am I one or two? And then he got disidentified with his mind. Because if you take this mind is all what you have known, it is in the realm of known. Reality cannot be seen through your mind. It has to come in a place where there's no mind. That's why when the mind comes to a dead end, when the mind gets checkmate, something else shows up. And this is a very interesting. situation. And if you take in the Avatar movie, she never even, I wish I can show that in here, that part of the Avatar movie, but like, so in that movie, I remember she got utterly disappointed and in a place where that she cannot figure out to get into the Avatar state, where she, after a few minutes, where she was crying, and just right there, she got into the Avatar state, which I see it as a spiritual awakening. Remember, mind cannot see this truth, and mind cannot guide you in this path. It's your intuition. Don't mistake your intuition with the mind. Like sometimes people might be confusing that, thinking that their intuition is their mind because the voices are quite similar in nature, but it is you to recognize that what is intuition and what is the mind. Mind will like fight back in order to keep the illusion alive as much as possible. Because if for someone to see the reality, mind cannot be there, mind needs to die. So that's why mind is so afraid you going deeper in the spiritual path. Because it is death to the mind. That's why when someone has been conditioned in this way, and when you go the other way, the conditioning just drops. Whereas the power of power of that mind, what we have given, is start losing. And then you would ask the question, how to checkmate the mind? Well, I would tell you that you yourself knows how to checkmate your mind. You just need to listen to your intuition. Your intuition knows the way. Your intuition is your teacher. Yes, there could be external teachers, but in reality, you got to listen to your inner intuition because it is what guides you in the path. You know where you are attached to. You know where you are identified with. And this intuition will also connect with you with external teachers out there. So how to checkmate your mind is by listening to your heart or listening to your intuition. And I remember when I was doing this very intense 3 weeks inner work and spiritual inquiry, I made sure that through all the techniques that I was using, like mind couldn't stay in any place. Whatever the mind was going and holding on to, I was just questioning that and collapsing it. And again, mind goes and identified with something else. And then I just again question and just dissolve that. And again, mind is so afraid and try to cling on to something. And again, see that and just I dissolve. And I remember I was playing this game with the mind in those three intense retreat period. I was doing it on myself. And I made sure that mind cannot cling to any place where the mind at the end surrendered. Because mind didn't know where to look for anymore in order to cling on to. And I remember even at the last moment before the awakening, even at that time, mind was looking for something to cling on. And I can very clearly remember that. But there was nothing that I could possibly cling on to because I have questioned every single thing that mind was just getting tried to like hooked on to. So how did I know that in order to question those places where the mind will hooked on to? I listened to my intuition. And I could start seeing clearly the games of the mind in the backstage of. And sometimes you need to open the curtain and watch what the mind is trying to do. It's like you need to have a relationship with mind and just be with the mind in order to get to know all its tricks. And sometimes when you live with someone, you start understanding what they will do. Like you can predict what the other person would do. Just like that, I also started living with the mind in order to understand the tricks of it. And more I understood the mind, like, more it starts dropping, like, more the power that I've given to it started dropping. And eventually it dissolves to a place you can recognize the reality. Only in the moment where the mind will dissolve that you would see the reality. Until then, it's all mind games that you see. Sometimes someone could have an experience of oneness with their space, like with the people or the trees around them or something that is there. But I want to tell you, even that is still in the mind realm. You're still seeing something. In the spiritual awakening, it has to go beyond all your five senses. And there's no seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, or smelling. Place where there's beyond all these five senses. When the mind completely collapsed and you are the reality. Thank you.